They say basketball is a game of talent, of genetics, of opportunity. But sometimes, it's a game of pure will. This is the story of a kid who had nothing, who was left with nothing, and who became everything he said he would be. This is the Jimmy Butler story. Tomball, Texas, a small town outside Houston. This is where Jimmy Butler's story begins, and almost ends before it starts. At 13 years old, Jimmy's mother kicked him out of the house. Her words, "I don't like the way you look. You gotta go." Imagine being a child, and the one person who's supposed to love you unconditionally doesn't want you. No home, no stability. Just a teenager with a backpack, bouncing from couch to couch, friend to friend. Most nights, he didn't know where he'd sleep. Most days, he didn't know if he'd eat. But Jimmy had something his circumstances couldn't take away, a burning desire to prove everyone wrong. Basketball became his escape, his therapy, his purpose. While other kids went home to warm beds and family dinners, Jimmy stayed on the court until the streetlights came on. Because the court never judged him. The court never rejected him. Then, at 17, something miraculous happened. A friend from the basketball team, Jordan Leslie, noticed Jimmy had nowhere to go. Jordan's mother, Michelle Lambert, made a decision that would change everything. She opened her door. She opened her heart. And she gave Jimmy something he hadn't had in years. A home. Not just a roof over his head, but a family. Michelle Lambert didn't just save Jimmy Butler's life. She gave him a reason to believe in himself again. Jimmy would later say, "She saved my life. I wouldn't be here without her." But here's the thing about Jimmy Butler. He didn't just survive. He decided to dominate. At Tomball High School, college scouts barely noticed him. He wasn't on anyone's radar. So he went to Tyler Junior College, a small community college where he averaged 18 points a game. Still, no major offers. Finally, Marquette University took a chance on him. Not as a star recruit. Not as a future NBA player. Just as a kid with heart. And that's all Jimmy needed. 2011 NBA Draft. 29 teams passed on Jimmy Butler. 29 teams. The Chicago Bulls finally selected him with the 30th pick, the last pick of the first round. The message was clear: you're barely good enough. But Jimmy Butler heard a different message. He heard, you have something to prove. And prove it he did. Year 1, 8 points per game, coming off the bench. Year 2, still a role player. Year 3, 13 points, becoming a defensive specialist. Year 4, 20 points per game, all-star. The kid nobody wanted was now one of the best two-way players in the league. But Jimmy didn't just improve his game. He improved his mindset. He became known as one of the hardest workers in basketball. 4 a.m. workouts, extra film sessions, demanding excellence from himself and his teammates. Some called him difficult. Jimmy called it championship mentality. Jimmy Butler found his home in Miami. Not just a team, but a culture that matched his soul. Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra, Heat culture. Finally, Jimmy was surrounded by people who valued what he valued: toughness, accountability, and winning. 2020 NBA Finals. 5th seed Miami Heat against the powerhouse Lakers. Nobody gave them a chance. But Jimmy Butler had heard that before. In Game 3, with his team down 2-0, Jimmy exploded for 40 points, 13 assists, 11 rebounds. In Game 5, facing elimination, another 35 points, 12 rebounds, 11 assists. He dragged Miami to 6 games through pure will. They didn't win the championship. But Jimmy Butler proved something more important. He proved that heart beats talent. That a homeless kid from Tomball could stand toe-to-toe with LeBron James and Anthony Davis and refuse to back down. Today, Jimmy Butler is a 6-time NBA All-Star. He's a business owner with his coffee brand, Big Face Coffee. He's a leader. He's a champion of the underdog. But most importantly, he's proof. Proof that your beginning doesn't determine your ending. Proof that rejection can fuel greatness. Proof that when the world says you're not good enough, the only opinion that matters is your own. From nothing to everything. That's Jimmy Butler.